The Queen watched the traditional Trooping the Colour parade from the Buckingham Palace balcony. Her family joined her for the spectacular RAF flypast, the number 70, with shapes in the sky. Despite one or two tantrums, crowds cheered for the pageant celebrating different decades of Her Majesty's reign. And we had the privilege of seeing the Queen alongside 3 generations and her 3 heirs. To the public's delight, Her Majesty also made a surprise appearance alongside Paddington Bear. Katie Nicholl is the royal editor of Vanity Fair. Her book, The New Royals, contains new stories from family members, palace courtiers and aides.
There was such a global interest in this sort of mammoth 4-day celebration of the Queen's 70 years on the throne. And I remember speaking to many people there who weren't even monarchists. They were people who wanted to come and soak up the atmosphere, who wanted to bring their children down to be a part of history in the making, and of course to try and get, for those who were royalists, to have a glimpse of the Queen. And I do remember just having that sense of almost this being a bit of a swan song, that this was the final farewell. I mean, the Queen did look very, very frail, albeit happy to be there, but very frail. And I do remember thinking, I wonder if we'll ever see her on this balcony again.
The public reaction, the mood, it was quite emotional now that the Queen's no longer with us.
Absolutely.
But the fact that they were so clearly in love with the late Queen.
Oh, they were so happy to see her. I mean, I think there was a sense of jubilation because people had been able to come together. I mean, because of COVID, there hadn't been this sort of mass gathering for 2 years. So for us all to be together, for us all to be celebrating, not just the Queen, but life, our lives, our being together again, was, I think, something very, very special for people that were there.
And on the balcony, the decision was made that only working members of the royal family would be there, which meant no Prince Andrew, and
Yes.
it meant no Harry and Meghan. A decision for the palace which perhaps caused some controversy. What do you think were the reasons behind that?
Well, I think the decision for it to be just working royals on that balcony was the right decision. I think, it was reflective of the direction that the monarchy has been moving in and is certainly moving now under the reign of Charles. And it was a way of neatly sidestepping 2 particularly difficult issues: the Sussexes and the rift at the heart of the House of Windsor, and of course Prince Andrew. I mean, it would have been absolutely awful for Andrew to have been up on that balcony and would have detracted from the star of the show, who was, and absolutely rightly so, the Queen.
Do you think there was any sense of Charles wanting to portray a slimmed-down monarchy for when eventually he took over?
Charles's slimmed-down vision of the monarchy is something that he's always wanted.
And it's something, that image of the Queen and then the 3 heirs, is something we're probably never going to see again in our lifetime.
Well, we've not had a monarch and 3 reigning heirs, so it was a really powerful, important, historic image.
Prince Louis appeared to have a little bit of a tantrum.
Yeah.
Will and Kate, I suppose, it's a big decision for them to decide how much exposure to give their children at events like this.
Absolutely. Well, when we saw the Cambridge children in the carriage procession, I remember thinking, goodness, I mean, I don't know if I would trust my 4-year-old in a carriage. And there was the Duchess looking pristine in white, absolutely immaculate, as she always does, with these 3 beautiful, impeccably behaved children who knew to dip their heads when the colour passed. I mean, it was little details like that showed you, as much as the Cambridges and now the Waleses have done a brilliant job in raising these 3 children, giving them an ordinary life with play dates at the palace and going to pretty ordinary, albeit very privileged schools. They're also being schooled in that duty. And, to see them up on that palace balcony was a wonderful treat, I think, for all royal watchers, a reminder of the next generation of royalty, so an important image in that respect. But I think it also humanises the royal family. It makes them all the more relatable. So yes, seeing little Louis having something of a royal tantrum in the royal box, well, hats off to the Duchess for her coolness when, she knew that cameras would be trained on her. And I particularly liked the Prince of Wales stepping in to say, come and pass him over to me, and putting Louis on his lap and having that wonderful moment where you saw him not actually as the Prince of Wales, but as a grandfather.